Every coaster enthusiast has one, a top coasters list. Whether it be a typical top 10 list, a tier list, or an extensive top 1000 list, everybody has one. Today I'm going to reveal my top 10. Keep in mind that I only have a total of 63 coaster credits, so this will probably be very different from an enthusiast that has ridden coasters for years and years. However, I do feel like I have a very good feel on the coasters from the Midwest and from Orlando's Disney and Universal parks. Well, without further ado, let's get going. Before we get into the list, I'm going to give you some of my likes and dislikes in a coaster. Airtime is obviously the best element on a coaster. I love all of it. Floater, ejector, everything. However, I do prefer more violent airtime, and I mean violent. The kind that kind of hurts as you crest the hill and leaves your thighs sore. I also love myself a rough wooden coaster. CCI is a great example of this, and I love all woodies. Well, with that in mind, we'll go into the list. Alright, and at number 10, I got Thunderbird at Holiday World. I first rode Thunderbird back in 2016. This was the ride's second year. I remember enjoying it, but I was total GP back then, so I didn't remember much, and I didn't have the enthusiast point of view on it. I did, however, ride this back in August of 2019, and I do remember it very well. First off, the ride is butter smooth. I don't think I've ever ridden a smoother coaster out of the 63 I've ridden, but that's not saying too much because I haven't ridden many new B&Ms. Also, the ride is, contrary to the wing coaster stereotype, it is super forceful. From the launch to the zero-G roll, forceful. The shack towards the end of the ride provides two amazing near-miss effects. I ducked and brought both of my legs up every single time on that part of the ride. The ride is amazing and often gets a little overshadowed by the voyage, but that doesn't take away from the fact that it is a heck of a ride and is so worth your time. At number 9, I have the Beast at Kings Island. The Beast is one of those legendary coasters that every enthusiast knows about. Today we crave the night rides this woody gives. The fact that it goes way out into the woods with only the moon to light your way is an experience that words can't describe well enough. While yes, the ride is mostly straight track, and yes, the ride is kinda rough, you gotta understand that this ride was built in the 70s. A wooden coaster built in-house, over a mile long, without computers or anything, is still this good. I also wanted to add that the roughness makes this ride so much better, adds so much character to the ride. If this was a steel roller coaster and it had this much straight track, I wouldn't be riding it. Would you guys be riding it? No. This ride was a masterpiece back in the 70s, and it's still a masterpiece to this day. And it's just a testament to how far the roller coaster industry has come. At number 8, I have Tennessee Tornado at Dollywood. Let me just start by saying this ride will blow all your expectations out of the water. Nowadays, when you think of aerodynamics, you think old, rough, janky, and painful, but this coaster does not follow any of those stereotypes. This ride was designed by Alan Schilke. You know, the dude that has designed all the coasters for RMC, the hottest manufacturer in the business right now. First off, the drop is super unique. At the crest of the lift, the track is so close to the ground that the grass is touching the track. And then you are dropped down 128 feet through a tunnel down the hill. And if that didn't start the ride off strong enough, you're then thrown into a 110-foot vertical loop with hang time galore. The rest of the ride is smooth and forceful and flat out amazing. The biggest downside though is that the ride is super short, but I tend to disregard that factor when a ride is as amazing as this. At number 7, we have Diamondback at Kings Island. Diamondback is the tallest coaster I have personally ridden. For someone who hasn't seen a coaster over 200 feet, when you see the pure height of this ride in Kings Island skyline, the anticipation builds up and up, and this coaster certainly delivered. As I said earlier, I love airtime, all kinds. This ride certainly delivers in that department. Airtime hill after airtime hill over and over until you hit the splashdown at the end. I will admit it though, I didn't experience much airtime after the mid-course brake run, but the first half totally makes up with it with its airtime-filled drop and massive camelback hills. The only way I can sum it up is in the words of Theme Park Crazy, you can never go wrong with the B&M Hyper. And at number 6, I have my favorite ride at my home park, The Boss. The Boss is such an underrated coaster. People love to complain about the roughness, and I'll agree, it is a little rough, but if you can get yourself a front seat ride and you know how to ride a Woody, it's not that bad. I'm also biased towards the roughness, if that makes sense, because I really enjoy the roughness of wooden coasters. So someone else riding it might give them a really bad headache, but I can marathon it and I'll be okay. Also, the ride does give a few moments of airtime, even though that's not what it's about. The drop in the back, the step down through the structure, the drop of the stupid mid-course, all give solid airtime. I also love myself a ride that at least seems like it's going fast, whether it is or not. With the roughness and the mild bank turns, this ride seems to go through the course at a really high speed. And you can't talk about the boss without talking about night rides. This ride has a really awesome night ride. It's nothing like the Beast or the Voyage, but if people did rank night rides, I would rank it pretty high. If you love yourself a nice CCI Woody, this ride is for you. Armsy would be appreciated though. At number 5 I have Dragon Challenge, which was operating at Universal's Islands of Adventure in Orlando. First off, I only had 2 rides on this, one on each side, so my opinion might be a little hazy. Also, I did not ride this back when it was allowed to duel. I rode this in 2017, right before they announced the ride would be closing. However, from what I remember, both sides were super intense. I usually don't prefer positive forces over negatives, but there was so much in this ride that I couldn't ignore it. I just really wish I was old enough to have gotten a dueling ride, because that might have knocked it up in my list even more. And at number 4, I have Lightning Run at Kentucky Kingdom. Lightning Run is simple: left hill, airtime filled drop, rapid turns, and insanely violent ejector filled airtime hills. If anyone describes a coaster with violent ejector, I already know that I'm going to love it. As I mentioned in my intro, I love thigh crushing airtime. I rode this in Storm Chaser back to back to back to back.
Snip, snap, snip, snap, snip, snap.
All day, and my thighs were sore all night. Also, I'm going to ask this question that everybody asks. Why aren't there more of these? I don't understand it at all. Like, it's not like they're expensive or anything. Kentucky Kingdom bought this ride before they even reopened in their first season for only $7 million. Like, come on, I want more of these. Also, just a quick note, the operations on this ride were absolutely terrible. But on every other ride in the park, they were absolutely insanely awesome. I don't understand why that is, but that really has nothing to do with the ride, so it doesn't hurt my opinion at all. And at number 3, I have Storm Chaser, which is also at Kentucky Kingdom. This and Lightning Run are so similar in the way that they are both insanely violent. However, I had to give the edge to Storm Chaser for a few reasons. First off, it is somehow more violent than Lightning Run. I didn't even know that was possible. Secondly, the barrel roll drop is absolutely insane. In the front, you get yourself some crazy hang time, and in the back, you're absolutely whipped through the drop. Also, that first airtime hill got me screaming of excitement every single time. And the trick track double up and double down towards the end before the helix is the most violent part of a roller coaster I've ever experienced. If I had one word to describe this ride, it would be insane. And that's all this ride is. It was built to be as insane as it could have been, and as much violence as your thighs could take. These 2 rides alone made Kentucky Kingdom a destination for all thrill seekers. And for number 2, I have put Lightning Rod at Dollywood. Remember when I said I love airtime? Yeah, that's all this ride is. This ride was so hyped for me going in, and somehow it blew those expectations away. The launch isn't necessarily anything to ride home about, but it is definitely better than a chain lift by 100 times, so that starts off the ride really strong. Then after that, the ride switches into a high gear with an insane first drop. Then the wave turn, which is the weirdest form of airtime I've ever experienced. You're like hanging off to the side, but you're still thrown out of your seat somehow. I don't understand it. This ride also has my favorite element on any coaster, and it's not the quad down. No, it's actually this banked airtime hill. I don't know how, but even sitting on the front and seeing the track in front of me, it still caught me by surprise. Add the insane ejector and the banking of the hill itself, and you got the most insane moment on a coaster I've ever experienced. The quad down is also insane, but it wasn't as insane as I was led to believe before riding the coaster. If this coaster was at some random park in Iowa, and it was the only ride at that park, I would 100% drive to the middle of nowhere and ride this. And now it's time for our honorable mentions. Number 11, The Legend at Holiday World, Custom Coasters International. Number 12, American Thunder, Six Flags St. Louis, Great Coasters International. Number 13, The Incredible Hulk, Universal Islands of Adventure, Bolliger and Mabillard. 14, Mr. Freeze, Six Flags St. Louis, Premier Rides. And at number 1, we have The Voyage at Holiday World in Santa Claus, Indiana. This may seem a little hypocritical because this ride has like no violent airtime, but my love for more traditional Woodies outweighs the airtime. But don't get me wrong, this ride has a full 22 seconds of amazing floater. When you have a layout this long and such engineering masterpiece, you will find yourself plenty of air. But what I love more about this ride is its length. The ride is so long. If we go back to Lightning Rod for a second, from when the train hits the launch to when the train hits the brake, the ride lasts only 53 seconds. But the Voyage, on the other hand, from when the train disengages from the lift to when it hits the final brake runs, the ride is a whopping 1 minute and 38 seconds. And that ride is full of speed and airtime. I said when I was talking about the boss that I love the feeling of speed. Well, this ride definitely does not let up in that category. There is not a single pacing issue to be found. This ride is really smooth and it's just amazing. I don't know how else to describe this other than that it is almost flawless. I absolutely adore this ride and cannot wait to hop on it again in 2020. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching this video. If you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video or the list itself, be sure to leave a comment down below. Also, all the channels whose footage I used in this video will be in the description below, so go give them a visit. And thank you guys so much for watching once again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.